John, we've got a couple of things that we want to talk about in this episode, and let's just kind of go over them real quick because there's lots of things to talk about and just so little time to do it. We want to talk about your PRI recap. You went to in Indianapolis. We also want to talk about some T-shirt giveaways. We want to talk about some things that are up and coming on the Get Out and Drive podcast. So make sure you guys stay tuned right to the very end.
You're listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast with John, CustomCarNerd Meyer, and Jason, OldeCarrGuy Carr. We'll be bringing you gearheads everything you never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive?
I know everyone wants to get out and drive, but it's been difficult with the price of gas lately. But get out and drive doesn't have to mean physically driving your ride.
Get Out and Drive means sharing your auto repair skills with the next generation. Hashtag, what drives youth?
Get Out and Drive means watching a classic road trip movie or something with a cool chase scene.
Get Out and Drive means hosting a car show or a cruise.
Get Out and Drive means working on that project car to get it ready to get out and drive.
Get Out and Drive means get those toy cars, Hot Wheels, remote control cars, and die casts and burn up the pavement.
Get Out and Drive means supporting organizations that help keep the automotive industry and hobby alive.
What does Get Out and Drive mean to you?
Let us know by leaving a message on our listener hotline. All right, we are back for another fantastic episode of the Get Out and Drive podcast. I am John, CustomCarNerd Meyer.
And I'm Jason, OldeCarrGuy Carr. Often imitated, never duplicated.
Exactly, there's a reason for that.
Folks, there's a reason why we do podcasts and not live TV.
That is exactly correct. All right. Well, for those of you that have just joined the Get Out and Drive podcast nation, we did some stuff in 2022 and a lot of things together, and some things remotely, some things Jason did by himself, some things I went and did by myself as well. Jason, you can certainly tell our listeners what we got into in 2022.
Yeah, and I think it kind of takes us back into pretty much this time of year in 2021. When I say this time of year, we're talking Christmas time. I receive a text or a phone call from John, planting a bug in my ear, asking me, what I thought of this and that, which ultimately led to me becoming a part of the Get Out and Drive podcast. That venture started in March. And look, folks, it has been a blast. It has been a ride in 2022. I have had so much fun. I've been welcomed into the Get Out and Drive family. And, we finally got to meet each other later on in the year. We'll talk about that later in the podcast. But I think that John and I offer a lot together as podcast co-hosts. We get to bounce things off of each other. We're texting all the time. We're sharing things all the time that we may want to share with you at some point. And, this is, I don't want to say it's been a dream. I can remember being a kid. I would have my GE dual cassette deck and I'd be recording songs off the radio. And I literally between songs would be talking just like I'm talking to you guys right now with, kind of wanting to be that whole DJ, on-air personality. It led into my YouTube channel, and it obviously the YouTube exposure has got me in front of John, and to the point where we're doing what we're doing right now. John, I hope I haven't disappointed in 2022. This is where I'm trying to get you to butter me up. See,
and you're pulling teeth for compliments, and I'm ready, brother, because I think you've done a really good job with coming on to the Get Out and Drive podcast family. And I want to thank you for all of your input and everyone on our team for all of their input and all of their work throughout 2022 to make us even better in 2023, which I think it will. We've got a lot of things in store for 2023. Some things are secret that we can't quite tell yet, but I think it's gonna, I know, that's hard not to say. I think we're gonna do some big things in 2023. So if you are a new listener to our podcast, welcome. Make sure you go back and listen to our previous podcasts. You don't have to listen to them in order. It doesn't matter. We talk about all sorts of things all the time. And just get in the groove and listen to the Get Out and Drive podcast and watch our channel and watch social media for new upcoming releases. It's always fun. Thank you for joining us, Jason. It's going to be fantastic.
It is going to be fantastic, and that is one of the words I have learned to use in this podcast. Is fantastic. It's an easy word to say, but it means so much. There's so much emphasis on that. If you are new listeners, make sure you find us on all forms of social media because we are out there. Easiest way to find us is to go to our website, getoutandrive.com. All of our information is there. You can follow us on Facebook. We have a group over there. We're on Instagram, TikTok. Well, wherever you can find social media, we're probably there. So all of that information is going to be down in the description of this video or of this podcast. So make sure you go find us, and each of our personal social medias will be listed there as well. John, as I kind of came on board, we kind of just dove right in with some of the interviews.
Right.
We had some great guests over the year. We've even developed, with the help of our sound producer, backstage editor guy, Paul, something called the backseat episodes. And that's something that was really fun. Just you and I shooting the breeze, talking about random nonsense sometimes, but there's always a point to those backseat episodes. It's because it's something that's on our mind. And, one of the big things about, doing podcasts and interviews and this sort of thing is that we get to try new things to see what works. I think that's a good one. That's one of the big things that I think I can pull out of the Get Out and Drive podcast for 2022 is these backseat episodes. I really enjoy doing those. If you guys enjoy listening to them as well, make sure you're telling us. Reach out to us. We've got a listener hotline on our website. You can reach out to us on Instagram. Let us know what your favorite part of the Get Out and Drive podcast is. John, how did you feel about 2022 as far as episodes, content, whatever it happens to be? What did you pull away as your favorite or as your most memorable experience?
Man, now you went and put me on the spot.
This was supposed to be a pre-rehearsed question, John. You were supposed to. It's
not pre-rehearsed. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of our show. I don't know. There's so many great episodes. I'm going to probably pick, because I spoke with him at PRI, and it is probably a little biased, Kyle Lockrow. I thought he did a great job, and he talked to me about things that I had no idea what was happening in NASCAR, and how he worked his way up through the ranks. We got to chat a little bit at PRI 2022, talked about the future of NASCAR, what's going to happen for him in 2023, and how he felt about NASCAR. I'd probably say my second favorite was Nick Panaretis.
That was a fun episode. I really enjoyed that.
If anybody's been listening to me running my mouth for more than 5 minutes and can handle it, I did not think anybody else was off the rails about cars more than I was. Nick is a character of characters, and he just provides an endless amount of entertainment. Just getting him to say the words Get Out and Drive podcast was like pulling teeth, and I was crying laughing. That man is a wealth of Mopar and all muscle car vehicles, but he's a wealth of knowledge. And if you haven't listened to the Nick Panaretis episode, stop this episode right here. You just come back, stop this episode, go listen to that one. You'll laugh until you cry, and then come back and finish this one. That man's a genius.
And we don't say that to make fun or poke fun. By no means. We had fun interviewing Nick. He's very well. He can take it very well. And if you guys don't know, Nick is from Quebec. He's French Canadian with a little bit of Greek mixed in there as well. So sometimes just, trying to get the words out. And that's one of the things that makes his YouTube channel such a success, is that there is no script. He does not like reading scripts because he he can't concentrate on it enough. He's got it all up here, just like everything that he knows. And when I say up here, I do that like everyone's watching us. I'm pointing to my head. He's got it all up here in his brain. He knows everything that, he's just a wealth of knowledge doing this for 50 plus years of working on cars and of all aspects. So, if you haven't yet, like John said, go over and catch that Nick Panaritis episode. You will not be disappointed. There's a little caveat. There's a little bit of a bonus in there because we did honor Nick in that episode. So make sure you go listen to that one. And speaking of cheerleaders, John, we have a lot of folks who faithfully follow us because they are as passionate as we are when it comes to cars, when it comes to certain topics, whatever that happens to be. So if you know someone who is as crazy as we are or as crazy as you are, make sure you're letting them know about the Get Out and Drive podcast, because we're trying to get our name out there so that everybody knows who we are. Not just to beef up our own heads, but because we just want to make sure that everybody has that same passion, can kind of come together and share in it. And that's really what the Get Out and Drive podcast is kind of about, is we want to share in that passion. And, as far as I can tell, in 2022, that's exactly what we did with every single episode, was we were able to hit that nail right on the head and share the passion that we have and the passion that our guests had when we interviewed them as well.
Well, I know we always talk about current events, and we try not to date our podcast, but people go back and listen to them all the time, either for automotive history information that I keep vomiting up randomly. But I know recently, Jason, I sent you this information about a 1989 Blazer that had 18. First of all, who keeps an 89 Blazer for forever and doesn't drive it? And doesn't drive it. It's a great car. But I posted on my Facebook feed an 89 Blazer with only 18 miles, recently sold for $125,000 plus fees. And it came from one of our followers, Sean Wallace, on Facebook. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And there was previously, was on my feed as well, another square body that sold for over $100,000. And it was another one that had, I think that one had 128 miles on it. A ridiculous amount of low mileage. First of all, how does that happen? Second of all, my goodness, the prices. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know square bodies are hot, Jason, but what are your thoughts? Why is this happening?
Well, I think that as we move along in the decades of automotive collecting and automotive passions and stuff like that, certain vehicles become more popular. A few years ago, it was everything muscle car. And as we move in, up a decade, seemed like Corvettes were everything because, the new C8 was the big topic of discussion. And as we move into, we're in the early years of the 2020s, trucks are becoming more and more of a passion in the industry and with people who are collecting them or who have the need or the want to collect them. But as time goes on, Mother Earth takes over. And these cars and trucks are becoming less and less when they find a good one, or they find an original one, or they find anything at all that someone that's big, like square body Chevys are right now. The price just goes up. We talked about this in a previous episode. I bought mine, 77 long box. I bought it in the late fall in November of 19. Paid $2,500 American for it, in stock condition, original paint, 80,000 miles. You find that truck today. Today's prices in stock condition,
right?
$5,000 to $7,000 truck, easy.
Oh, easy, all day long.
All day long. So, gone are the days of $2,500 trucks. Right. And then you go and you find these ones that are literally brand new with no miles on them, and look like the day they rolled out of the GM assembly plant. And people are selling them going across the auction block and paying 10, 20 times what they were new. But at some point, are you ever going to drive it?
At that point, it's a time capsule. And I know at Get Out and Drive podcast, we're all about, get out and drive, use your vehicle. that thing's a time capsule, and it sadly will never be used. Maybe it will. That car was $21,000 new. I saw the window sticker of that truck. Just amazing.
And that's the thing. Somebody asked me once upon a time, this whatever, I don't know what kind of car it was. It was a Corvette of some sort going across the auction at Barrett Jackson. And it went for like $1 million or something like that. And they said, would you ever buy that if you had the money? And I'm like, no, because if I had that kind of money to throw away, I wouldn't be buying Corvettes. I can guarantee you that. But B, if I did have the money and I did buy that Corvette, I guarantee you it would have rocks in the tires, bugs on the windshield, and burnt rubber stuck to the rear fenders, because I would drive. I'm not going to pay $1 million to have it sit somewhere and look fancy. I'm going to earn the value of what I just paid for. People would think I'm crazy or eccentric or whatever you want to call it, and call me crazy, because I would be driving those vehicles. I mean, again, I would never pay that kind of money for a car. Right. If I could, I'd be driving it.
Well, I know we've always talked about it before, but if I was able to spend an exorbitant amount of money on a vehicle, I'd be the first person that would buy a restored vehicle, or buy a one of three, Hemi Cuda or a Hemi Superbird or something, and I'd be the first person to go, give me the keys. I'm doing donuts in the parking lot. And like you said, I want to get my money's worth. I want to do it. I'm the person that eats too much at the buffet. I want to eat at the muscle car buffet, and I want to just eat the hell out of these cars.
John, in early July, the first weekend in July, in a small town called Moncton, New Brunswick, here in Canada. It's on Canada's east coast, approximately 7 hours from Boston. Approximately 8 hours from Montreal. If you guys are in this neck of the woods and you want to see the biggest car show on the East Coast, Moncton, New Brunswick hosts the Atlantic Nationals the first weekend in July every year. I managed to get there this year after a little bit of a hiatus from the pandemic, and I took the Yugo. It was a huge success. A lot of people love that car, but there was so much to see. We got to talk with one of the organizers, and they helped get us on the website as a co-sponsor of their event, and they kind of helped get our name out there with not just the Get Out and Drive podcast, but with National Get Out and Drive Day, trying to promote that. That day, I handed out approximately 1,500 Get Out and Drive Day postcards and stickers. And there was over 2,600 cars registered that day. I did not get them all. Great event. I'll be doing it again this year. For those of you guys who don't follow me on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. I posted a lot of videos on that, and the Yugo is getting a engine swap, and my goal is to get it back to the Moncton Nationals in July. So that project will be taking place really soon. But it was great to be at the Moncton Nationals, kind of my first kick at the can as a solo run, representing Get Out and Drive podcast here in Canada. As international, we kind of coined that earlier on, International Get Out and Drive Day, which happens on the first Sunday in October. We just want people to get out and drive. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to be a hot rod. Doesn't have to be a new car. Could be a motorcycle. Could be a bike, a bicycle. Watch out for those bicycles on the highway, folks.
Right.
Anyways, the idea is we want to make sure that people just take the time to not trailer queen your ride, or to spend some time with your family, or to watch a car movie on National Get Out and Drive Day. We want you to take the time to be with your family, be with your loved ones, do something special for that day. So Get Out and Drive Day is the first Sunday in October every year, recurring. We want to see you out and doing that.
Earlier in the year, one of the best things that's happened to me in quite a while is I got a chance to take my son and myself. We went with AJ Ware of Petty GMS Motorsports. We went to the inaugural Illinois 300, and it was at what everybody still calls Gateway Raceway, and is Worldwide Technologies Raceway. That's the official name of it. To me, it'll always be Gateway. But there was the inaugural race of the NASCAR Illinois 300. And what an incredible weekend. Got to hang out with Richard Petty, got to hang out with AJ, meet all of the drivers, all the NASCAR drivers, truck drivers. Everybody there was incredible. Just getting to stand right up on the track, and we were enough. I mean, the drops of sweat would come off of the crew, that was working on the car. That's how close Get Out and Drive podcast was to them changing tires and coming in for fuel and everything for pit stops. I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to thank AJ Ware for the opportunity to go to Worldwide Technologies Raceway and watch that race and just be there all weekend, hanging out with Richard Petty. Richard Petty signed one of my Hot Wheels. Just ridiculous weekend. Got to spend it with my son and Richard Petty, and we have photographic proof. So it's forever burned in my brain. I think later on in the year, we went to the Southern Illinois Truck Nationals, and that was a great show. It did rain. It did not have the turnout that everyone expected because it did rain, but nonetheless, great show, and look forward to going to that in 2023. As well as the inaugural, so many things that happened for the first time in 2022. I never realized that. But anyway, the inaugural No Name Nationals, and that was in Southern Missouri. So I got to go to that and hang out with some of the Get Out and Drive podcast crew and a lot of people that we have met through social media. One of the biggest is Dalton Summit, and he still owns. This guy buys and sells so many cars, I can't remember what he buys. But he owns the Holy Goat. If nobody knows what that is his GTO that was shot up its whole life, and he beat the hell out of it and got it back on the road so he can get out and drive. But hung out with him there for a while and met a bunch of really cool people from YouTube. You had to have 500 followers at least to be involved with that show. So again, looking forward to being involved with that, hopefully on a little grander scale for next year. And what else happened with you, Jason? Did you do anything during 22?
Well, John, speaking of firsts,
yeah,
because of my association with the Get Out and Drive podcast, I was able to make it to SEMA in Las Vegas for the first time in my life. It was postponed a couple of years because of the pandemic, but we finally got there. And being a part of a media badge, that got us to a few extras that we may not have been able to get to behind the scenes, special places and stuff like that. But being able to just be there, Las Vegas, finally, flying without restriction, getting to meet you, John and Joanne, and being great accommodating hosts as we shared a place for a week, and being our chauffeurs because we did manage to do a lot of driving while we were there. Just a really, really fun time. And we did a ton of interviews in SEMA. Those videos are still popping out right now as new episodes on our podcast because we just did so much for that. And what an experience. We're talking about what 2023 looks like as far as firsts go. And I can't do everything because of where I'm located. I just can't take off and fly everywhere. So next year, I think if we don't do SEMA, I'd like to do PRI.
That's a great show.
In Indianapolis, John. And you actually did this year. Tell us a little bit about what happened at PRI and who you got to have breakfast with while you were there.
Oh, man. If people want to talk about incredible things, yeah, I did get to have breakfast with Tony Stewart and about 1,200 other people. So it was fun. Lots of people there. Got to talk to a lot of people at PRI. And PRI is like a Midwest SEMA. It's still automotive content, and it is more focused towards the racing and customizing and engine building aspect of the automotive industry. But we just got to hang out with tons of people, and through the love of Racing Junk, we're in the Racing Junk booth, and we got to talk to everybody that was there. There you go, racingjunk.com. And I thought that was incredible. Got to talk to a lot of people. One was Bob Ashton. If you don't know who he is the owner of McCacken, Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. We got to hang out with Kyle Lockrow, and we talked to a lot of different people, and just got the word out about the Get Out and Drive podcast, and just meet people just face to face, because I know a lot of people listen to us. A lot of people watch us on YouTube, but they actually got to meet us face to face and, talk off camera and talk very briefly about their favorite episodes and what we should talk about. And a lot of people gave me their ideas of why they're interested in the automotive industry. And I love hearing the background on everybody. That is, everybody wants to tell you where they came from and why they care about cars. So that was a pretty fun meet and greet area.
John, I know I always joke about our age difference, meaning that you're a little bit older than I am, not by much.
Right.
We joke about it, but the industry that you've been in and the contacts that you've made over the years has helped you to network and to learn who a lot of people are. My connection with you is slowly getting me into that network. And some of the things that I've learned over the last year, being a part of the Get Out and Drive podcast, is the relationships that we have as a podcast, as co-hosts, with the likes of the RPM Foundation. And how the RPM Foundation is working towards that youth initiative, getting them back into the industry, the trades, body shops, mechanics, whatever it happens to be, because we're losing these people as time goes on. So being able to get into those relationships with RPM Foundation, and most of all, probably our biggest cheerleader of all is Racing Junk and racingjunk.com. They are on board with everything that we do. They help us out with advertising. They help us out with giving us space in their booth at SEMA as well as PRI. And like I said, they're champions for us. They want to see us succeed. They're doing a lot for us. And I know that somebody from Racing Junk will be listening to this podcast tonight. And I want to personally, as the new guy to the podcast, to say thank you for accepting me to be a part of the podcast and accepting the Get Out and Drive podcast to be representative of you and your brand. So if you guys don't follow Racing Junk on social media, make sure that you do head over there to their website, because they offer free classified ads if you want to sell things out of your garage that have been laying around for years, car parts, tools, whatever it happens to be. You can put money in your pocket. It doesn't cost you a cent. Advertise over there, your stuff for sale, and make sure you check out racingjunk.com. They support us. We want you to go over there and support them.
I almost forgot another cool thing I did this year. We did so much stuff, and being cooped up over the past 2 years, I keep forgetting what happens because 22 was a blur. We were able to go to a Model A startup, which every year there is a Model A restoration club in St. Louis, Missouri. They pull a vehicle, either somebody finds it or they have one of their members find it or whatever. They always pull some sort of family heirloom Model A out of a barn, out of a back of a house or somewhere that's been sitting in the vehicle this year was a coupe, 5-window coupe. And it was a 28, I think it was 28 or 29. That thing had been sitting for 50 plus years. And they got it started in like a half an hour. It was absolutely ridiculous. Excellent to see so many people working together. There was people there that were 8 years old. There were people there that were 88 years old. Amazing to see so many people in one spot giving so much information and sharing so much information. That's exactly what we're talking about when we say support the next generation. That is an absolutely incredible event to attend, and I was happy to be a part of it.
And if you guys don't know how hard these cars to start when everything's working properly on this car that's been sitting around for decades, and what they have to go through to try and get this thing to run.
So, Jason, what do you look forward to doing in 2023? Do you have anything planned? I know there's a bunch of shows coming up. Everybody is still kind of coming out of the woodwork. I don't know of any new or inaugural shows that are coming up, but there's going to be several things that I want to be part of that I was part of last year for 2022. What's going on in your neighborhood?
Well, as you know, I've got my 77 C10. I'd like to do some traveling with that this year. My hopes are to maybe get down to a Carlisle show in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure exactly which one it would be yet, but to get out and drive the old Chevy C10 that I called Dale. I don't like to refer to it as a C10 because it's got a name. Get Dale the truck out on the road, do a major road trip on that thing. I've put a couple thousand miles on that this summer. Absolutely 100% trouble free. And I think that I'm ready to get out and drive and get that thing on the road to some shows. I really want to hit something C10 related or truck related while I'm gone. So, Carlisle might be something there. I also want to get to PRI next year. So that's likely going to be a priority. And obviously the Moncton Nationals. But as far as, things to see and do, there's lots on the go in the automotive industry. If you guys aren't following John or myself on social media, we're always posting weird stuff, things that might be happening or hot news, hot topics, controversial topics sometimes. And we'll even bring those right here to the podcast to talk about. We had a little bit of a brainstorming session a few days ago, kind of off camera, to talk about what we want to see for 2023. And a lot of great ideas, John, come out of that. And I think we're going to try to implement those ideas as we move forward. Some of it might be a little more interactive. So what that means is we want to get you guys who are listening to us more involved. And that involves our listener hotline, like we've mentioned before, over on the Get Out and Drive podcast website. If we use your comment, or we're going to be asking some questions, maybe we'll have some contests. We want to give away some Racing Junk t-shirts. So that means we've got to get you guys involved somehow in order to do that. So, John, I think by having some contests, asking some questions and stuff like that, we want to get our fans, our supporters involved and pay them back with a little gift of a Racing Junk t-shirt. What's one of the ways you think that we could do that?
Like asking a question or making something? I'm never... All the information I have in my brain, I always think everyone knows all sorts of trivia. I don't want to make something that's like super hard. I don't want to make some sort of trivia question that somebody could just look up on the internet. Well,
it's got to be something related to the Get Out and Drive podcast, something that they can find easily. Maybe they already know the answer.
I got it. And we'll do this officially later. I'm sure you'll hear a bump about it when you listen to our podcast, hopefully at the end of this one. How many miles per gallon, or kilometers per gallon, if you want to be technical, how many kilometers per gallon does Dale the truck get? That'll be our first question. And I only say that because I know Jason's run out of gas. And that's a huge, hilarious thing. Everybody keeps poking fun at him, so I'll just keep poking the stick harder. So that's our first official question of 2023.
So, John, it just goes to show how much you know. Here in Canada, we do not calculate miles per gallon. We calculate kilometerage.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. Whatever your answer is, we'll convert it however you see fit. But miles per gallon on Dale the truck. The answer is out there somewhere. Best place to probably look for that is on my YouTube channel. But yes, I did run out of gas a time or two. Mm-hmm. I'm still blushing about that one a little bit because it was very simple mistake. But yet it was costly in my pride. But anyways, if you guess closest to the 1 decimal point, we will send you a t-shirt, Racing Junk t-shirts. Make sure you get those answers in on the listener hotline on our website, getoutandrive.com. That'll be linked down below, and you can leave your answer there. And thank you for participating. So folks, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a recap of 2022. I don't know about you, John, but I had a blast, not just with this podcast, but with the past year. A lot of firsts, a lot of new things, and I'm so looking forward to 2023.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to 2023. I'm mostly looking forward to being able to get out and drive, go to car shows, go to get a hamburger, hang out, just do something. And I know I always ask our listeners, because I don't always see everything on social media. If you have an event in your area that we have to know about, make sure you go to getoutandrive.com and use our listener hotline and tell us about your event. You don't have to be the promoter. It can be something your friend's doing, something you heard about on social media. Make sure that we know about your event and tell us about it on our listener hotline.
And if you want to become a National Get Out and Drive Day ambassador to try and help promote National Get Out and Drive Day, make sure you email us, info@getoutandrive.com. We would like to take a moment to recognize the new words and phrases that were a part of our podcast this year.
Kilometrage, the Canadian mile. Thunderweld, a new term derived from a voice-to-text mishap. Route and route. We still don't know the difference.
At the end of the day, these words broadened our vocabulary and brought laughter and tears of joy to our team at the Get Out and Drive podcast. Nailed it. We know you enjoy the Get Out and Drive podcast. John, let our listeners know how they can support the show.
Well, you can buy the show a gallon of gas.
Please explain.
You've heard of Buy Me a Coffee, right?
Oh, yeah.
But who needs coffee? We need a gallon of gas. Just go to our website, getoutandrive.com, scroll to the bottom of any screen, and you'll see the Buy Us a Gallon of Gas link. Just click, and you'll help to keep our show running. The RPM Foundation believes that vehicles are more than just transportation. They have the power to bring us together, inspire us, and drive us forward as a community that shares a passion. But with restoration professionals retiring faster than students can replace them, the future of these rolling works of art is uncertain.
The RPM Foundation supports the education and training of the next generation of restoration and preservation artisans, craftsmen, and technicians. RPM safeguards the critical skills necessary to restore and preserve collector vehicles by supporting hands-on training and engaging the next generation of craftsmen and women.
We want to encourage our listeners to learn more about and donate to the RPM Foundation. Just visit our website, getoutandrive.com, and click on the What Drives Youth tab for more information.
Cruise on over to our website, getoutandrive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline, be the first to know what's happening, get industry news, and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Get Out and Drive Pod.